You're about to hear a story that will challenge everything you think you know about faith and evil. Picture this, a man, an ordinary priest, facing something most would consider impossible, a direct confrontation with Satan himself. This is not just another tale, it's the real story of one of the most famous saints in Christian history, Padre Pio. But what he did when faced with this threat, and the words he spoke, are so powerful that they could change the way you view both good and evil forever. Padre Pio was no ordinary man. Known for his deep spirituality and miraculous experiences, he spent his life fighting for what he believed in. But his battle was not just with human struggles. It was with the forces of darkness themselves. During his life, he reported several supernatural encounters, including direct confrontations with Satan. Yet, one particular moment stands out above all others. A moment when Padre Pio faced Satan in a way that few ever have, and his response left those who witnessed it stunned. Many people talk about the power of faith, but Padre Pio lived it every day. He didn't just speak of his beliefs, he was tested in the most extreme way imaginable. And it was during one of these tests that he encountered Satan in a direct, physical confrontation. But this wasn't a battle of fists, it was a war of wills, of faith against darkness. In this video, we will dive deep into this chilling encounter. What did Padre Pio say when he faced the devil? How did his words make even the most hardened skeptics question their beliefs? Prepare yourself for a story that not only illustrates the power of faith, but also serves as a reminder of the eternal battle between good and evil. The early years of Padre Pio's faith. To understand the magnitude of Padre Pio's battle with Satan, we must first explore the foundation of his incredible spiritual journey. Born Francesco Forgione in 1887 in Pietrelcina, Italy, Padre Pio's life was destined for something extraordinary. Even as a child, he exhibited signs of deep spirituality and connection to the divine that seemed far beyond his years. His devotion to prayer and his unwavering faith in God marked the beginning of a life filled with remarkable spiritual encounters. From an early age, Padre Pio felt a strong calling to the priesthood. He joined the Capuchin order at just 15 years old, adopting the name Pio in honor of Pope Pius I. His life in the order was not easy, marked by physical suffering, emotional hardship, and a constant battle against spiritual forces. However, these challenges would prepare him for an even greater mission, to confront the forces of darkness head-on. The stigmata, a sign of his divine mission. One of the most defining aspects of Padre Pio's life was the stigmata, the mystical wounds of Christ. In 1918, Padre Pio began to experience the painful and mysterious marks of Christ's crucifixion on his own body. These wounds were not only physical but deeply spiritual, making him a living symbol of Christ's sacrifice. For many, the stigmata was a clear sign of his holiness, but also brought intense suffering, both physically and emotionally. Despite the pain, Padre Pio's faith never wavered. He believed that the stigmata were not a sign of his own greatness, but rather a manifestation of God's will for him. This was a man who, despite his human frailties, had surrendered completely to the will of God. But it was not just his faith in God that set Padre Pio apart. His ability to resist the forces of evil and fight against them in prayer would soon become legendary. A man of prayer and miracles, Padre Pio's spiritual life was centered on prayer and penance. He spent countless hours in the confessional, hearing the confessions of thousands of people who sought his guidance and absolution. His ability to read souls and understand people's deepest thoughts was renowned. Many reported miraculous healings and experiences after encountering him, further solidifying his reputation as a saintly figure. But despite the miracles and supernatural events that surrounded him, Padre Pio's greatest battle was one that could not be seen with the naked eye. It was a spiritual war, a war against evil itself. The first encounter, a test of faith. The story of Padre Pio's encounter with Satan begins during his time as a priest. Known for his profound spirituality and unshakable faith, he had already become a beacon of hope for many who sought his guidance. But for all his power, there was a darkness lurking around him, one that would soon manifest in a way that no one could have imagined. It was said that one night, while Padre Pio was in his private chapel praying, the air grew thick with an unexplainable sense of evil. The temperature dropped, and the lights flickered. Padre Pio, aware of the presence of something malevolent, continued his prayers with the same unwavering devotion he had always shown. But this was no ordinary disturbance. It was the devil himself, attempting to break his spirit. For a moment, The devil attempted to attack Padre Pio physically, manifesting in a terrifying, monstrous form. Yet Padre Pio stood firm. His response wasn't one of fear or terror, but rather one of defiance rooted in his unshakable faith. According to reports from those who knew him, Padre Pio simply raised his hand and said, "Begone, Satan. You have no power over me." This moment was just the beginning of a series of supernatural battles that Padre Pio would face in the years to come. Each time Satan tried to break his resolve, Padre Pio stood his ground, using the power of his prayers and the strength of his faith to repel the dark forces. The devil's tactics, the battle for Padre Pio's soul. Satan's attacks were not always physical. In fact, much of the devil's work was psychological. Padre Pio was often overwhelmed with feelings of doubt and despair, moments when it seemed as though even his strongest convictions were being shaken. But Padre Pio's deep spiritual connection and his unshakable faith allowed him to endure these moments of darkness. During one of the most intense encounters, Satan attempted to manipulate Padre Pio's thoughts, trying to sow seeds of doubt about his faith. The devil would whisper lies in his ear, suggesting that his suffering was meaningless and that God had abandoned him. Yet, despite these psychological assaults, Padre Pio never wavered. His response was always the same, a resolute prayer, invoking the name of Christ, and calling upon the Virgin Mary for protection. On one occasion, Padre Pio reported seeing a vision of Satan standing before him in the form of a terrifying, monstrous beast. The devil mocked him, telling him that his prayers were useless and that he would never defeat him. Yet Padre Pio calmly responded, "You are nothing but a shadow, a lie. In the name of Christ, I command you to leave." In that moment, the darkness retreated, leaving Padre Pio victorious once again. It was through his unwavering faith that he was able to fight back against the devil's manipulations. And with each battle, Padre Pio's connection to the divine only grew stronger. The role of prayer and faith in the battle. What made Padre Pio's confrontations with Satan so unique wasn't just his incredible ability to resist evil, but the methods he used. Unlike many others, Padre Pio never relied on physical strength or earthly power to combat Satan. Instead, he relied on the most powerful weapon he knew, prayer. His life was a testament to the power of faith and the ability to rely on God's grace to overcome the darkest forces. For Padre Pio, every encounter with Satan was an opportunity to grow closer to God. He knew that the devil could only have power over him if he allowed it. And with each victory, Padre Pio became more convinced that prayer was the ultimate weapon against evil. His prayers were not just words. They were a direct line to God, a shield against the forces of darkness that sought to destroy him. The power of words in spiritual warfare. Words hold tremendous power. This was something Padre Pio understood more deeply than most. He knew that in the battle between good and evil, the right words could be the deciding factor. Throughout his life, Padre Pio spoke words that were not only powerful, but also transformative. His words, especially when directed against Satan, were a reflection of his unshakable belief in the power of God's grace. When Padre Pio faced Satan in those intense encounters, his response was often simple yet profound. It wasn't about grand speeches or elaborate rituals. It was about invoking the power of God through direct, unwavering commands. His words were a weapon, cutting through the darkness with the force of divine authority. One of the most famous phrases attributed to Padre Pio during these confrontations was, "In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave." These words were not just empty commands. They were backed by an unyielding faith that resonated with the very essence of Christian belief. By invoking the name of Christ, Padre Pio aligned himself with divine power, using it to drive out the forces of evil. "Begone, Satan. You have no power over me." Another phrase frequently heard during Padre Pio's confrontations with Satan was, "Begone, Satan. You have no power over me." This phrase was not just a statement of defiance. It was a declaration of his complete surrender to God's will. Padre Pio knew that the devil had no true power unless it was given to him, and by proclaiming these words, he reaffirmed his trust in God's ultimate authority. These words were particularly powerful because they came from a man who had experienced unimaginable suffering and trials. Padre Pio's life was filled with physical pain from the stigmata, emotional anguish from the constant attacks of the devil, and spiritual trials that would have crushed many. Yet, in the face of all this, he stood firm, relying on the strength of his faith and the power of his words to keep Satan at bay. The impact on those who heard Padre Pio's words. Padre Pio's confrontations with Satan were not only witnessed by himself, Many people who visited him or sought his counsel also heard firsthand the authority in his voice when he commanded evil to leave. It wasn't just his words that impressed them. It was the sheer conviction behind them. People who were present during these moments often reported feeling a deep sense of awe and reverence. They knew that they were witnessing something extraordinary, something that could not be explained by logic or reason. For those who had doubts about Padre Pio's sanctity, these encounters were a wake-up call. The way he spoke, the authority in his voice, and the unshakable faith he exhibited convinced even the most skeptical observers. Padre Pio's words had the power to transform not just the people he spoke to, but also the very environment around him. The healing power of his words. Padre Pio's words weren't limited to his battles against Satan. He used his words for healing as well. Many people reported miraculous healings after receiving his prayers or words of encouragement. He was known for offering spiritual counsel that helped people find peace, strength, and healing in their lives. His words were like a balm to the soul, soothing wounds that ran far deeper than any physical ailment. In every situation, whether it was a battle against Satan or a moment of spiritual guidance, Padre Pio's words were always rooted in his unwavering trust in God. His words were a direct reflection of his faith, and in that faith, he found the strength to face even the darkest forces. A saint for the modern world. Padre Pio's life and ministry have left a lasting legacy that extends far beyond his time on earth. His ability to confront evil with unwavering faith, his reliance on prayer, and his profound understanding of the spiritual world continue to inspire millions today. Although he passed away in 1968, Padre Pio's influence has only grown over the years. His story, particularly his encounters with Satan, remains a testament to the power of faith in overcoming the darkest forces. Padre Pio's legacy isn't limited to his miraculous healings or his extraordinary ability to withstand physical pain. What stands out most about his life is the way he exemplified the Christian principles of love, humility, and unwavering faith. His life was a model of how to face suffering, evil, and temptation, and his example continues to encourage individuals facing challenges today. The influence of Padre Pio's prayers. One of the most profound aspects of Padre Pio's legacy is the power of his prayers. People who sought his intercession often reported remarkable changes in their lives, ranging from physical healings to spiritual breakthroughs. His ability to pray on behalf of others, even after his death, is widely regarded as miraculous. Many believe that his prayers continue to protect and guide those who call upon his name, just as they did during his lifetime. In addition to his healing prayers, Padre Pio's words of wisdom have continued to inspire generations of believers. His spiritual teachings, focused on the importance of suffering, prayer, and devotion, continue to resonate with people of all backgrounds. Whether you are facing physical illness, emotional turmoil, or spiritual doubt, Padre Pio's words provide solace and guidance. Padre Pio's relationship with God, the ultimate example of faith. At the heart of Padre Pio's legacy is his unwavering relationship with God. His deep devotion to Christ and the Virgin Mary was the foundation of his life and ministry. He was known for his intense prayer life, spending hours each day in prayer and meditation. But it wasn't just the act of prayer that made Padre Pio so extraordinary. It was his connection to God. He had a direct and personal relationship with God that allowed him to perform miracles, heal the sick, and even withstand the devil's attacks. This connection to the divine is what enabled Padre Pio to endure the physical and emotional suffering he faced throughout his life. It was through his relationship with God that he was able to stand firm against the devil, knowing that he was not alone in his fight. This unbreakable bond with God serves as a powerful reminder for all believers. No matter how dark the times may seem, God is always with us. A saint for the persecuted and the lost. Padre Pio's legacy is also deeply rooted in his ability to connect with those who were suffering or lost. He was known for his compassion and understanding, offering comfort to those who felt abandoned by society or God. His life serves as a reminder that no one is beyond redemption, and that even in our darkest moments, God is waiting to welcome us back with open arms. For many, Padre Pio's story is one of hope. It reminds us that faith is not just a set of beliefs, it's a powerful force that can help us overcome even the most insurmountable obstacles. Whether it's battling physical illness, overcoming spiritual doubt, or facing the forces of darkness, Padre Pio's life and legacy offer a guiding light for all who seek solace in the face of adversity. Padre Pio's battle against Satan wasn't just a historical event, it was a spiritual journey that continues to resonate with believers across the world today. His courage, unwavering faith, and steadfastness in the face of evil offer a powerful example of what it means to trust in God, no matter the circumstances. The story of Padre Pio's confrontations with Satan is more than just a tale of spiritual warfare. It's a reflection of the deep, personal relationship he had with God and his unshakable commitment to his will. Padre Pio's words, particularly his command to Satan to be gone, serve as a reminder that we all have access to the divine power of God. When we face trials and tribulations, when darkness surrounds us, we can stand firm in faith, knowing that we too have the authority to overcome evil. Padre Pio's life teaches us that through prayer, perseverance, and a deep relationship with God, we can rise above the challenges that seek to defeat us. As we reflect on Padre Pio's legacy, let his example inspire us to face our own battles with faith, knowing that, just as Padre Pio triumphed over Satan, we too can triumph over whatever forces seek to hold us back.